Hey guys, welcome back to Fleetyards Mission Briefings. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Cockins, and take it away, Stuart.
Mission Briefings, Fleetyards Mission Briefings in particular, is a show where we look at the multitude of ships out there in the sci-fi universe. This month, however, is going to be special because of the upcoming The Last Jedi Star Wars coming out. So we're going to have a Star Wars themed month for the Mission Briefings. So, Samuel, what Star Wars ship are we looking at today?
And not just that, this is the bonus Star Wars releases because we're kind of excited, so we thought we'd throw out 4 special bonus ones and hopefully some well-liked ships. But to this week, this month, this starting episode ship, lots of words, is the Low Altitude Assault Transport. Or as I knew it beforehand, the Republic Gunship.
Yes, that's what I knew it as well.
Literally, I was Googling it and it just comes out as Low Altitude Assault Transport. I'm like, well, okay, that makes sense. But no, Republic Gunship, much catchier. And yes. This, of course, first appeared in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and this was basically the start of the attack of the said clones.
It was.
So, and it's a pretty cool first picture. So, Stuart, do you remember, did you see Attack of the Clones in the cinema? What was your first impression of this ship?
Yes, I did, and I don't know if this ship really made an impact right away, because there was so much stuff going on in that battle. Like, there was just so much going on. I thought it was neat on later viewings. I thought it was very cool with the little gun turrets they have and things, and how it's kind of a tie-in almost to the droid carriers from Phantom Menace, kind of shape-wise, and then even the shuttle Tidarium. You know, kind of, you can see the evolution, or at least the fact that it's an Empire getting there kind of ship. You know what I mean? So I thought it was very cool. It looks very well armed, and the fact they're flying around with the doors open reminds me of a Huey gunship from Vietnam. So yeah, pretty cool ship.
Yeah, I know I saw all the films in the cinema, all the new ones, and this one I liked more, but it's because it had a bit. Well, anyway, we all know about Episode 1, and this ship actually was one of the best things I thought of the movie. This design, it really stood out to me as that's really cool, just by having its unique shape, very simple, very understandable. I love the amount of armaments and the fact that there's a huge creativity of having these, you've got all those blasters, because Star Trek does lasers, like constant beam, and yet this ship has these constant beam laser turrets, which I thought was really unique for the Star Wars verse, quite unique. They also got lightsabers, but visible, and also same with the wing. I mean, it was kind of like, how the hell do we put 19 guns on a ship, and they sketch a ship around it, So I've always really enjoyed this, and it's great to be able to, you guys will see some 3D stuff in a minute. It's nice to be able to work with one and have a look. But yeah, I really like the design. But Stuart, let's go into the meat and bones of it. So the next picture is a new 3D render of the Star Wars Battlefront 2 model, because they now have multiple eras, and so you get to see it in all of its crisp, clean glory. And yeah, what do you like about it, Stuart? What do you think?
First of all, kudos to you for getting these 3D models. I think they're simply fantastic. I do like the fact that there's like 2 pilots. I never noticed that before in that last picture.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh. Yay! We learned things on Mission Briefing.
Yeah, I never really looked at that, but yeah. I mean, does it even have a door that can close, or are those just always open?
No, those. If you look at the back, there's those little slits. That thing pulls in and closes, and I believe there's like some sort of door in other parts. So yeah, the whole thing can close.
Oh, cool. No, it's a neat design. Yeah, and it's funny because I know it's not the Imperials at this point, but it does eventually get there, and you can see the tie-ins, and I love the way they did that
tie-in.
That's really bad. I love the way that they did that, and they did it well. I mean, having a earlier design style, which is its own unique thing, but still you can see the evolution up to the later movies, which is cool.
And Star Wars is a tricky one because they show a lot of the world in terms of era, in terms of different eras, but all within a small scale of time, and so many political things keep changing. And these designs are from the time the films were released, they do represent the time as well, and limitations of model building and such. But then designers later on have very respected that and kept going with designs, and even then had to go back and design a proto version. How many new TIE fighters do we have in these new films that are iterations on a theme, but it's such a simple theme. They have to keep, stay within a very small margin of what it can look like, and yet come up with these new designs. And you're right. I mean, we can see the Empire pointing. We can see the Empire logo right there, which is a nice little touch on this model in particular. But it's got those nice curves. It's a troop transport. It's an unusual ship to look at on Fleetyards. It's not a spaceship. It hasn't got FTL. Can't do a ton beyond dropping troops and shooting a lot of weapons.
No, it's its point though. Its purpose though is drop troops essentially
and shoot a lot of weapons. And did you play the original Battlefront games on any of the small? Okay, because this was a very fun ship to fly in the second one. The amount of guns you can shoot is like, you are going to do some serious damage. It's slow, but missile, laser, gun. It's like, yes. Ha 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 ha.
Cool.
Very
yeah, especially
slow.
with the constant beam laser, like it's easy to target that way.
Yeah.
You fire it and just aim it at whatever you want. You don't have to worry about aiming
Well, actually,
first
and I hadn't thought about this, but you said it's like a Hui and you like those Vietnam. I mean, isn't that just what if you put tracer rounds inside of a minigun, it look like a relatively constant beam, and while these things can only go in bursts, or a little bit longer. That's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mind blown.
Smart people. Smart people.
All right. So the next picture is a shot of it from the back and the top. Now I'm wondering what those things are on the top. I would assume those are mainly engine. They look kind of small for an engine for this thing, but at the same time, I can't see anything else that could be the engine. So
You haven't watched the film in a while, have you?
it's been a while. It's been a while. So tell me.
Those are the rocket launchers.
Okay.
The middle detail where the yellow bit is, that's where the rocket... And there's a picture later on, we'll see it. But they feed the rockets in and then they fire. So that's their big guns. Limited rockets, but yeah. Now, I assume the back has maybe some engine components, but obviously this is the Star Wars verse. They don't need to have... I mean, they use anti-grav repulsor lifts is what they're actually called. So I'm sure they're more on the bottom. You don't need actual engines because this isn't going to be flying, heavy-duty system to system. You don't need to focus on the engine power, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the big... I mean, it's great because they don't look or feel like that, but as soon as you say it, it's like, oh, damn, okay, yep. They are rocket launchers. Cool.
Yeah. I think like you said, there would be half engine module, maybe perhaps, and then half rocket launcher.
But the next picture is another back view, and again, this ship I think looks great from almost every angle. Like, these are the standard Fleetyards angles, but it looks good. I mean, it's bulbous, but it's got the curves that make it feel deliberate, Does that make sense?
Yeah, I wouldn't
Am I
say
too
it looks
biased?
good. I wouldn't say it looks good. I
Okay.
don't think it's a good-looking ship. It's a utilitarian vessel. It does what it's supposed to do. It's not particularly pretty in any way.
Well, yeah.
It looks
pretty is not the same as looking good.
okay
though.
from every angle.
Okay, I can sense who likes it more, but that's fine. Anything you notice on this shot?
It looks like it has a rear loading ramp, which
Yeah, I don't know about that.
yeah, I mean, makes sense if one of the side doors becomes damaged or something. They
Yeah.
hit with a shell or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And also a really long gun at the back,
Mm-hmm.
which seems kind of. It looks like it would snap off
Mhm.
in a strong breeze.
Strong breeze. Yeah, again, they thought, let's add a tail gun because everything needs to be a gun. And in fact, this, I don't know if the original version had this, but if you look on the underside of the wing, there's 4 missiles.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know it had those. It's even more guns.
Yeah. It's neat. It's a neat design, like I said, but it's it's utilitarian, serves its purpose, but it very much ties in for me with the Huey gunships from Vietnam. A lot of similarities. So
Yeah, I'm certainly getting that more than I did before. But the next picture is a cool kind of front view to give it a different perspective. Yeah, I mean, literally half the things you see is a gun. And with different purposes. Each with a slightly different mission profile to be able to hit ground targets or buildings or flying things or,
So what are the bulbs in the wings though? Because I don't think those are guns.
They are, in fact, but those are automated versions. Those are like lower power wing versions, whereas the main targeted ones have a lot more field of view, a lot more strong, I believe. So it's...
Yeah.
shooting to excess, but I know they can do at least that, but at least front firing. So if you want to have a real big attack head on, you can deliver 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 of their missiles, 5 distinct weapon systems forwards.
Yeah, well, the way I see this thing being used is definitely for bringing in troops, but for clearing the path, landing, getting the troops on the ground, and then getting out. And same with coming in to rescue them. You can like take out an enemy line of fire, settle down, have the side gunners doing their thing while you're loading it up. Again, it ties right back into the whole Vietnam thing. So,
and doesn't it make you think how ineffective and poorly armed the after stuff is? Like with the rebellion, it's like this thing or those things. Like, why don't they try and rebuild a few of these or steal a few if any existed? It's like didn't build them like they used to. And this was a Camino design because they designed all the weapons and stuff as well. So,
Ooh, the next one's interesting. This is a model, and this looks like, as we see with the runabouts and a few other ships in sci-fi, even the Eagle from Space 1999.
Yeah,
they have different modules that they can lock into the middle there. So you could have like a passenger module or a cargo module. Would be my guess with looking at this, and I think that's a really cool design. Actually, it's like one of those huge Russian helicopters that has a big cutout space. Pull in different modules and do your thing. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I believe the aft section is takeoutable for different forms.
Takeoutable.
Thanks. But this
removable.
Science, yeah. But this version, you can see the front detail and the fact there's no weapons at the top. In the wing, sorry. This is a different scale. This is a bigger ship because these are the ones that land the walkers. So they attach to the top and then just drop them and then fly away. I always thought it was the same design, but now they're not. But it's obviously the same style of design. But I do think the small ones also. I mean, you can see if you go back to just picture 3. We can see there are sort of lines that you could easily imagine just sliding off. Because if you look at how it's designed, there's that flatness which then curves out into the box of the lower. Cargo container. So if you cut it at that line, you would have the ability to do that. I'm pretty sure that at least has been done in a couple of iterations. But if you go to picture 8, one of the amazing illustration books, which just are ridiculous, I thought I'd definitely want to throw this in for the mission briefing just to show exactly where and how some things are. So what do you see in this version?
Well, let me zoom in a little bit here.
Yeah.
So we have the rockets in the wings. Now, are those dropped from the bottom of the wing like we saw earlier, or do those feed up into the rocket launchers at the top?
To be fair, it might be both.
Because if you look in the middle, there are rockets in the middle of the ship there.
And we see that in the movie. But it'd be weird to feed the missiles all the way through the wings into it. I mean, that'd double your clip capacity. But I could also imagine if there are doors on the bottom of the wings that just slide open, then 4 come down, and there's like 3 sets of 4. So you've got like emergency missiles, I suppose.
Yeah.
But if you look at the back of that wing, isn't there like a chain? It looks like a rotary chain that could move. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it does feed back into the middle.
That'd be my guess. Yeah. It looks like they. Yeah, I don't know. Where do the spent shells go, or are there spent shells? Do they launch the whole thing? Or
I think they launch the whole thing.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. I think.
Yeah.
But another cool thing about this, looking at the cockpit real quick, it's very much like an F-14. We got a pilot and a Rio. And the Rio in the back, he basically takes care of the radar, navigation and. That kind of thing, whereas the guy up front is just basically a pilot, and that would work very well with this kind of ship.
And it's great that they've even put enough detail in to show there's actually 2 completely different control schemes, which is a really nice little detail.
Yeah.
But it's a very packed in ship. I mean, you can see all the little pieces and all the little tech, but it's like it is so much inside such a smallish body. And you can see the wing ones, they have laser beams. You can see the heat vents at the back to the excess heat out and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I love looking. These books that they do for Star Wars with the cutaways are fantastic.
Yeah.
So much detail put in.
Star Wars has always done books well.
Yeah.
Please pay for more Trek books.
But let's move on to the next picture, and this is a close-up of the cockpit area. And again, too, you can tell that the guy in the back really doesn't need to have a lot of line of sight. He's focused on his monitors, which would show him everything around them as far as radar hits go and all that. So nothing to really distract him. I mean, he can look out the side, make sure the troops are loaded in or that the troops are getting out okay. But, you know, that's cool.
That's such a small detail that I would never have seen. But yeah, differently designed, differently built cockpit. But it's those sorts of things. It's like when you have a kit bash of a Trek ship or of a Star Wars ship. It's when you take pieces but then alter them slightly to add a sense of new function. If it was just a doubled up, it'd be like, okay, those are the same cockpits, but adding those extra details, give them a personality. It's like, okay, no, it's separate, you know? How much do you want to bet that cockpit is ejectable, given how sort of... Like, there's no lines necessary to do that, but it's a 3D model that was made for a video game that's limited. You know, if they want to do that in a high poly, they could. Do you think it kind of has that same vibe that they could potentially eject?
Yeah, I would think it would be... On a vessel design like this, I would think so, yes. And it would be the whole module on this one. I think that would come out. Where it's not like an F-14 where the canopy ejects and then the seat ejects.
Oh, yeah,
I think this might be more like a module that would have like parachutes or something.
But it's one of the strange things, like, it's designed for clones, and they don't really care about clone losses.
I know. That's what I was kind of thinking as I was saying that, but... I don't know.
I would hope they'd do that for their clones.
Yes.
I mean, you can't just lose every clone every time. It's so wasteful.
And going to the next picture, we get a shot from the side. This is a more detailed shot of that side pod, which I really didn't think was a weapons pod, but, I mean, it makes sense. It's not manned, though. But it's the same kind of shape and size as the manned ones on the side, which kind of threw me for a loop, so I didn't know what they were. Yeah,
and the same emitter, which you can see. But what's interesting is that this iteration... There is no people in this model. I could have put them if I had a Stormtrooper. I don't have a Stormtrooper model. But obviously the side ones are manned. These ones aren't. But in this iteration, obviously, EA and DICE have made a conscious choice to... I'm sure they were given real renders of the real model to base this one on. Yeah. But if you look at the internals of this side turret, you can see a visible internal structure, which you would think, based on the previous picture, would be solid, and even that would be easier for the model because there'd be less geometry. But in here, you've got distinct... I mean, it looks like a laser beam. It looks like a turret. It's a turret within a turret. So I'm kind of like, I mean, good job. I like the fact they've done that, but it intrigues me given the last one. Like, is this how it should look, or is the other one how it should look and feel?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. See, it almost makes sense to have them manned in a way.
I don't know. Making it like a 360-degree rotation thing. That'd be kind of cool. Disorientating. Yeah. But it's interesting because if you look at like the technology in these two turrets is going to be quite similar, but look at what is in that side turret. I mean, it's just a ball with a beam laser, and then it connects the hull. Where the hell is the bit laser power coming from? So you're telling me it's feeding through a little bit of metal in the hull, through like through the lines of the weapon to the emitter. Like, that's a terribly small system to control and to generate this beam. So it's completely practical then to think that this side cannon works with just an empty ball with a thing in the middle. I mean, it's kind of incredible when you think a laser beam was generated from that small amount of technology. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I can see them not being very powerful though. They'd be more like smaller caliber rounds. Well, the ones on the front, the long ones, and the manned turrets are probably like the equivalent of a 50 caliber round. Way more powerful.
What I'm kind of vibing is that probably you're right, that the missiles are functionally to hit big targets. Obviously they're seeking, boom, you've got your effective things. All the bigger turrets are, like say, 50 cal or explosive shells, something that can take on manned vehicles and buildings. And then these things are very much anti-personal only, so the laser beam is so limited that it can, hit body armor and ow, he's dead, or ow, he's stunned, but they can't do much more than that. So it's very much like person to person, no deflector shields, that sort of thing. And obviously a person doesn't take much to burn through. You know what I mean? For a high power laser when they can do all this stuff. So I'm kind of vibing now. I never thought that based on the games because they were always kind of effective. But what do you think?
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, because if these are anti-personnel, that makes sense to have them there. Because when they're landed, they could be facing outwards, and taking care of, like I said,
At people level, yeah.
all of the enemies that are chasing your troops that are trying to get on board,
Yeah.
or as you're landing your troops, you're clearing a path for them, but with these little side guns.
And if it's just designed to take on, say, droids, all you need is enough power to sever a droid metal. Just now you've severed, 8 arms. Boom, But anyway, the next picture is a close-up of just the internal space, because it is a troop carrier, and it's got these 2 room things. Obviously, this is just of the model, but yeah, it's got 2 rooms, and there was a door we saw that connected to the cockpit, which I would love to see in that bottom bit. And this picture does kind of imply that the bottom can go down. It would certainly allow for quicker troops to get on it, I would suppose, but there's so much wasted space in that back because it's slanted. Like if it was solid with technology there, I can imagine that was the reactor or something. But
yeah, you're right, because I wouldn't want to be standing on that as far as the troop goes. Could just be storage for equipment and stuff, but still, it's on a slope. You want that kind of. It would make more sense if it had like a flat thing like this, so it had storage lockers underneath, and then like a top shelf kind of thing for equipment. But
if it is a lander, because I can imagine a situation. Well, I don't know.
But then again, we did see from the bottom, it looks like that's a landing ramp as well. So I don't know. It just seems odd to have a ramp that you can load and unload troops from at the back when you got these huge side doors, which are usually always open.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And one's for loading and unloading, I suppose. I mean, if it was slightly bigger, I could see this being a thing, just because you need the flexibility to get troops out in different ways. But, I mean, you can only put on like 10, 15 people. You know what I mean? It's not that many. But speaking of, and I'm glad I worked this out in pre, the next picture is a shot of the troops inside. Actually, kind of bigger than I was vibing. I can't remember. This is a fan render and all that stuff. Or maybe from Rebels, or well, it says Rathal Himage. I don't know, but this is a shot. And they've scaled them to the point where the clone troops are a little bit shorter, so it's certainly 2 and a bit stories high. But I guess you can kind of maybe 20 or 30 troops if you really packed them in.
Yeah, easily. The most notable thing I'm seeing different on this one is those wing turrets that aren't clear here. They're very much like solid.
I mean, emitters are slightly different as well.
Yeah. But no, it's a good amount of people.
And one great thing we saw in the movies, and I believe in the animated stuff, troopers just sit down and chill. It's just a bit of personality with the design. And there are cargo boxes at the back. And I guess you could lean that. I mean, if there's a lip like there is there, you could just still dump a whole load of cargo boxes. It's not impractical, but
it's a little impractical.
Anyway.
The next shot is a close-up of the top there between the 2 rocket launchers. I don't really know what I'm looking at there, but
it's just close. I'm just doing detail shots, obviously, of the different pieces. But yeah, big ass torpedoes. I'm assuming that means they're reasonably longish range,
or just high yield. You need more explosives in the. Yeah. Don't you find it kind of strange that they're loaded up through the wings? I mean, you get hit with, a random shot in the wing area, sets off a detonation on one of the missiles, and you're done. Just seems kind of unsafe, but.
Well, I think partially this is kind of a shock trooper sort of approach, / it might be a little bit further away in the battle. I mean, again, clones are expendable, so if you send 80 of these in, okay, now you've sent, 3,000 troops, 1,000 troops, whatever. Okay, if you lose 2, that's fine, you've lost 60 troopers, that's okay. They'd rather have, the extra 20 missiles to do a lot of damage. So it's kind of a slightly more, again, I don't know how much the designer had all this in mind, because there's a lot of meta stuff to think about, but how do you add in more of a not suicide, but, we don't care about long-term viability into the design? Is that really thought in, or is that just,
I don't know. See, I always got the feeling that these were very expendable, quick to make vehicles. Because there's really not much to them when you look at them. They're very hollow. They're basically just a cockpit and wings.
Yeah. And guns, Stuart. Don't forget about the guns.
Well, yeah. But it's like it's not. I think there'd be a fast production, run of these and be able to pump them up pretty quick. So.
Yeah. But they're great. And the next picture is a great little detail shot at the back. Pretty sure those are the vents for the engines. Again, Star Wars tech's a little bit weird with that sort of stuff. And I'm assuming, I don't know if they actually have shells, but that's obviously a lot lower yield back gun. But maybe longer range, given how it's distinctly thinner.
See, when I first saw this picture just a second ago, I was looking at it going, is that maybe not a communications array or antenna? Something like that. I mean, it looks very much like a gun, but it just seems almost impractical to have one gun like that at the back.
Why impractical? I mean, not effective enough.
Why wouldn't you have a dual cannon back there or something that if you're... Well, I don't know, it just seems
because literally they're running out of space. They can't fit the power generation next to the engines. I mean, I think, I'm pretty sure it's a weapon because I'm pretty sure I fired it in one of the games. And I think an aft gun certainly does make some sense, but if it's like an automated thing, because they got droids, they can automate something. It's just doing pot shots. I mean, there's no aft weaponry except the two side lasers. But if you're being chased by droid-controlled ships, at least you need pot shots. But yeah, I mean, I could see it being some sort of antenna, but isn't it even more vulnerable then? I mean, if I was doing antenna, I would have them either side of the vents lined up, pointing up, so it's kind of
Well, it does make sense to have it be a weapon, but it seems more like a sniper rifle, like a long range, accurate weapon. It just be something you'll have more on the front of a ship, so you could instead of when you're retreating. I don't know.
But again, I suppose if you say that secondary pilot you mentioned, that I guess he could be a gunnery as well. I can see him using it as they're retreating to shoot droid. If they can hit a droid control ship in a certain spot to make sure
take the pilot out,
take the pilot AI out, then I can imagine it could be quite useful as a targeted strike, especially if you're running away or leaving. That dude is no longer running all these controls. His gunnery system is being limited. He's not using the missiles. He's not using other stuff. They can focus on this aft cannon. But I mean, another laser would have been good there. But again, if those are only anti-personnel, you need something bigger. So it's interesting. I mean, again, easy answers because we know everyone's got the book, but we love having these discussions because sometimes shapes don't necessarily. I mean, the simple fact that the front guns have a very, they're in ball mounts. This thing doesn't look to be. So is it only got that single angle? That's a limitation. That's probably why you're thinking, because it's it doesn't have the same sort of.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I thought it might be an antenna, because it doesn't have the same movability as the front ones, obviously.
But that could be a limitation of the model rather than.
Could be, yeah.
But anyway, the next picture, which is just another little fun picture I did, just a cool angle, so you don't often get to see these sorts of shots. Very oddly proportioned, in terms of bulk. And again, we've never seen that in the movie, so it's kind of it's a cool shot.
Yeah. And here too, I get another vibe for another helicopter. The Russian Hind helicopter has such a long cockpit like that from the front. It almost looks like a Russian Hind here. So lots of great tie-ins.
Yeah, people can only sort of pull from things they know. It's just about sort of reinventing them. But if we end on picture 3, just a nice little 3/4 render of the whole thing. I'm glad we finally got to this ship for this bonus Star Wars thing to celebrate episode 8. We're celebrating episode 2. But that's one of our 4 episodes, guys, so tune in, there's more to look at. We'll look at some Last Jedi ships as well. Probably when the movie comes out, actually we're going to talk about them properly rather than just doing first look, because most of these Star Destroyers are just Star Destroyers, their points, their details. This is a bit more unique. I mean, this is one of the more unique ships, I think, in Star Wars. I mean, and it's got a cool place in my heart like the ARC. It's got a cool place in my heart like the ARC 170. Again, a very sort of unique but stylistically consistent design.
Yeah, just one of those ships I don't like very much and wouldn't.
He's gone down a step. He was like, "That's alright. No, I don't like it."
Well, no, it's all right, but it's nothing that I would want to build or anything. It doesn't really speak to me like that. I don't know.
Damn it, Jim.
So guys, yeah, if you want to help us make more of these shows, because we're gonna, we always look at great ships, but with Star Wars coming up, we want to do some more Star Wars kind of fun stuff. You can help us out. You can click the Patreon link in the description below. Head on over there and help us on a monthly basis, or feel free to go over to Trekyards.com. That's Trekyards, not Fleetyards. Trekyards.com, and click the donate button so you can shoot us some money that way. If you want to give us like a tip as a thank you, that'd be totally awesome. But there are other ways to help that are free, and I think Samuel, look at him. You look at him. He wants to tell us about them. Look at him.
Hello. Yes, you can subscribe to this channel for the great Trekyards and, of course, Fleetyards content. You can like. Every time you like these videos, the analytics of YouTube think it's more popular, because it is, because you liked it. So like it, subscribe, and do all those things, because it brings the channel more publicity and such. Just watch other videos, follow our Fleetyards, join the Fleetyards and Trekyards Facebook page, and just become part of those discussions. And I will say, you know, the more money you support on Patreon, the more we can do, and we really want to do full episodes on all these ships, because, again, I like the ship. I'd love to do full renders of it, you know, scale things, shots with Trek ships, you know, how this looked docking on the Galactica. No one's ever
runabout. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, no one's ever done that. Let's do that. That'd be cool. So help us by growing this channel so we can do more cool things like that we've got the opportunity to do, but we need more support. So thank you in advance, and we'll see you next week for another bonus Star Wars episode here on Fleetyards.
So until then, may the Force be with you. Bye, guys.